Hello, and welcome to another FHIR for Developers tutorial video. My name is Gino Canessa. Today we're doing a little bit more for the FHIR subscriptions for Connectathon 28. This is actually an update, an add-on to the reference implementation walkthrough. I think that was part 3 in the Connectathon 28 set, but I'll try and put these in order as much as possible. We have a couple of updates just in things that people have found in pre-Connectathon testing. And so with that said, let's jump right in. What I have up here is the reference implementation that we've got another video for already, so subscriptions.argo.run, and I just want to highlight a couple of changes that I've made in the past couple of days. The first is we've moved the client host URL all the way down to the bottom, and this will help because really the only time you need to set that is if you've cloned the repos and are running your own copy of that client host. And again, that's just the thing that relays REST endpoints into this UI. So it's specific to this implementation, and that's the only time you want to use it. And so I've moved it further down to kind of help highlight that these are the kinds of things you want to change, and these are not. I could do the same thing for like R4 and R5 and things like that, but we'll see. There's always more to do. The other thing I want to highlight is I've changed the tabs up here a little bit and added a new one. So the patient plus REST server is the one we've gone through before. So this is what you would want to do to test a FHIR server that's supporting FHIR subscriptions. It's the same one we went through before. There's really no changes in here, but I did want to highlight that this is for testing a FHIR server, not a client endpoint. Just this walkthrough. You could always test the client endpoints through the playground before if you were making your own, but we didn't have the guided ones through it. Part of that is because if you were building a client, you wouldn't need to use this UI. You would just build your client. But people have brought up that if you're building a client that's receiving notifications, you're not necessarily, generating encounters and things like that. So we've tried to kind of split the difference here and add this new one, Patient REST Endpoint. So this is if you are doing a receiving application that's not going to be triggering anything. The downside here is that I am still creating the subscription, and I just realized that as I'm recording this. So I'll see if I can make some more updates and post if that's a thing, just to generate the events. Although for that you can just use the playground. You don't really need a walkthrough if you're doing all of that. So this is the same scenario. All of the pieces that are here work the same. So we can see we can select or create a patient. We want to use that patient, but it skips all the things like the handshakes and things like that because those were being detected in the UI, and now the UI doesn't have access to them. So we're not setting up an endpoint, and we're not going to have any of the events displayed in our UI. To fix that, we have this additional field here in Create a Subscription, which is the endpoint URL. You can see if you try to create without one, it needs one, and it needs to be HTTP or HTTPS. I'll bring in this other window here just to, we have another video on this. This is the C# listening app that's just listening and displaying some information on the screen. We can't use localhost because this is coming from the public server. So there's no way that the public server is going to be able to get to your localhost like that. So in this case, we do have the tunneling all set up, and so I'm going to use this public URL that we can access for the same server. Same thing, the rest of these options are the same, so we'll create the subscription. You can see as normal, we get our response, everything else here. And bringing in, we can see that in our other app, we did receive a handshake that was the 0th event, which makes sense. And we can come here and post encounters. We can send a couple just for fun. We'll send 3. And you can see here we got event 1, event 2, event 3. Everything is happy. And we can still query for events and do all those other things. So we'll clean up so that we don't leave our subscriptions behind. I do have some additional changes I'm still hoping to make as far as being able to query more and check the status so that some of those features that we have in the one that's fully contained can show up here. We can test to see if the server has sent the handshake. We can test to see when it sent an event that it is incrementing, all of those pieces. But that's a lot of additional code, and we have some other things we need to do before the Connectathon yet too. So again, hope this helps. And if you have any questions or comments, please let me know, and hope to see you at the Connectathon soon. Cheers.